It's recording. So however you can sit comfortably. And you're gonna need the towel or the blanket or whatever you grabbed. So take hold of that object and fold it, like this is folded twice. So you've got like a long strip of blanket, and then give it just a little bit more breadth. So I rolled it up just a tiny little bit, and hold the blanket out in front of you with your arms straight. Think of pulling the thing apart, like you wanted to rip it in two, and realize that's hyperbole, don't get too excited. And then turn your thumb knuckles toward the ceiling and your pinky knuckles toward the floor, and pull the blanket towel apart. And then release that and just let your arms come back to where they would, let's say, normally go. Do it again. Thumbs turn up. The blanket kind of wraps around the thumbs. The pinky knuckles come right in underneath of the thumbs. And then you'll release your arms back to, let's say, neutral. And do it again. So you're externally rotating your shoulders. I'm going to come closer for this, just for the hell of it. Wrapping outer triceps down, outer armpits down, and then coming back to where you started. It should be harder than you thought it was going to be just looking at it. So straight arms. We'll think of this as turning the armpits toward the heart, toward the center, and then neutral or internally rotated slightly where your armpits flare out. Do it again. Thumbs up, pinkies down, armpits in. Now hold your armpits in and try to take your arms now up overhead. You're still seated. I'm just bringing it closer so you can see. And then you'll let your arms come down and you'll undo the rotation. So the shoulders rotate back to neutral. Do it again. Thumbs out, pinkies in, lift your arms up overhead. And then release that, let your arms come back to neutral. Do it twice more. Go up, armpits in, arms straight, lift your shoulders, and then release. Last time you're gonna try to hold up there. So thumbs out, pinkies in, lift your blanket or whatever up overhead, and then pull it apart and keep your front ribs and your belly drawn back. Lift your arms more, pull the blanket apart, take another breath. Okay, let it go. Should have been just a little harder than you thought it was going to be, just looking at it. So you're gonna take the blanket and you can unfold it so that it's back in its longer state, and then place it just south of the midpoint of the mat so that it's there for your knees, but it's not in the way of, say, if you were to come into a downward dog, it wouldn't be in the way. And then come to downward dog and have a few breaths moving around as you please. Can you use that last exercise as a reference to your down dog shoulders? Think of outer armpits turning in toward the center of the chest. And the shoulders are lifting, they are not pulling down the back. Now tap your knees and sit to your heels. And if you can't do that, sit to a block. Take your arms forward, and then you'll lift them up overhead, and you'll try to keep your outer armpits turning in. So your palms should be very clearly facing each other. And then you're gonna swing your arms down alongside your hips. They're gonna go behind you. You're gonna take your chest just a little bit forward, palms squeezing the block now behind you, internally rotated shoulders. Now on the breath, take an inhale and slowly lift up. Try to find the very top of your breath in, and then using your exhalation, sweep the arms behind you, chest tips a little bit forward, palms squeeze imaginary block. Again, inhale as your arms go up. And exhale as they sweep alongside and then behind you. Empty completely. Twice more like this. Use your breath in, go up. And then use your breath out as you tip forward, and slow it down just a little bit beyond where you would be normally breathing if you weren't on a mat, getting into this steadier pace. Last exhale, your arms will sweep behind you. Now, sweep up. Connect your palms above your head if you can, and then bend your elbows so that your hands end up nestled at the base of your skull. You shouldn't be pulling on your head at all. If your shoulders really don't like this, feel free to skip it and just reach your arms up overhead. If you can, we'll call this dropped prayer or downward prayer. Now turn your armpits in. Press your palms firmly together and let your shoulders lift. Pull your front ribs back so you're not back bending. Your spine is aiming to be in neutral. Take another breath like this. And then you'll reach straight up, full inhale. You're going to sweep the arms behind you, and this time as they get there, make fists of your hands, and you're going to connect the two fists behind your lumbar spine, which is different if you're familiar with this shape. It's not the full pose, it's down in your low back instead of your ribs. So if you're not sure what I'm doing back there, I'm creating a fist bump, so largest knuckles connected behind the lumbar spine. Press your fists together strongly back there, and pull your shoulders just a little back. So in the direction of like a cobra. And notice the elbows would prefer to go back further. Let them for a second, feel what that's like. And then slide your elbows more forward, and keeping that, pull your shoulders more back. Pull your ribs more in. So that again, you're aiming to be neutral in the spine. Now with your arms internally rotated. Now, flip the finger knuckles toward the floor, bring the palms together. Interlace your fingers and send your knuckles down. Pull your chest up. Your knuckles could rest on your back pelvis. They could, like mine right now, are finding my big toes. You could have them on the floor. If you're on a block, that probably won't happen, but push your knuckles down and pull your heart forward and through your collarbones. Take another breath like this. And then you'll fold, put your belly on your thighs, send your knuckles overhead. Your forehead may touch the floor, it might not. You could even come more toward the crown of your head, but be gentle there and be careful with your neck. Knuckles overhead. Take one more breath. See where your arms end up. I tend to go really tingly when I do this stuff. So sit up when you're ready. I would suggest that you can breathe into a little tingliness, but if you go pins and needles completely, you should probably back off what you're doing. Exhale where you are seated. We'll put that on the breath. Inhale, you're going to sweep your arms up. Full lift, full breath in. Exhale, you're going to find downward prayer and firm your belly and ribs and find neutral. As you breathe in, the arms are going to lift and straighten. Breathing out, make the fist bump behind the back. So that as you breathe in, you're going to sit up tall. Exhale, you'll just settle, shoulders back, elbows forward. Now put the palms together, other thumb on top, knuckles down, take a deep breath in. And then fold belly toward your thighs. Breathing out. Sit up, breathe in, arms overhead. Drop prayer, just the exhale. Straight arms, breathe in. Tip forward, arm sweep behind you, create fist bump behind the back. As you breathe in, you'll sit up tall. Breathe out, pause, shoulders back, fists together. Inhale, interlace the fingers and the knuckles down. And then fold belly toward your thighs, exhale, knuckles forward. Sit up, breathe in. Settle your hands to your lap as you breathe out and just sit tall. Your shoulders a little back. Draw your skull a little back. And can you steady the pace of the breath? You recognize how easily we get off track. Limit the potential for judging yourself or labeling the experience, that just because you get distracted makes it all for naught. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's easy to get into that mindset sometimes. So you tether your attention to the mat through connection, through breath. And you find interesting ways to organize yourself. Physical body, inner body, breath being kind of the bridge between the two. Now slide your hands forward, and if you can, come onto finger tops. If you don't work on fingers very often, that probably won't be super comfortable for you, so you can take or leave it. But set your tabletop a little long. So really it's a kneeling plank. It's not an actual tabletop. And then turn your tail up and look up and take an inhale toward a cow spine. Empty to cat. Empty completely, cat spine. You're gonna stay empty, close the airway, and then start to push back toward child's pose, but really, really slow and staying empty. When you need to breathe, stay in child's pose, breathe in. Firm your arms to straight as you exhale. And then again, rock forward, take your breath in, cow, so back bend. And then empty cat pose. All the breath out. Pause, empty, and go back on empty. You'll feel belly suction, should be kind of interesting. Again, if it's uncomfortable, just do it. Breathe when you get there. Steady exhalation. And you'll do this once more. Glide forward, take your inhale, cow. Empty cat. Pause, empty, and take it back toward child's pose. When you get there, breathe in steadily. You'll roll up to sit, so slide your fingers toward your knees and then alongside your shins and then behind your feet, pretty wide near the edges of the mat if possible. If you can't sit like this comfortably, you could sit cross-legged, potentially to more success, if your knees especially don't like it. And then with your next breath, you'll catch your kneecaps, pull your ribs back, and round your spine. So it's a seated cat pose. Take a deep breath like this, and a full breath out. Slide your hands forward, tuck your toes, come right to plank pose. You'll straighten your legs. And then stay for a moment and just charge your arms. Spread your fingers evenly. Push the ground away. And not just with your hands, but with your feet. Lift your thighs, lift your belly. So your spine isn't round, but it's avoiding the significant arch that would like to happen in your low back so that you could get out of all the core work. Now, tap your knees if you want them, and you'll lower slowly to the floor. So all the way to your belly. Set your fingertips on the wood just outside the edges of your mat. Elbows stick straight up in the air to begin. You'll pull your shoulder blades up and over your back and lift into a cobra on finger stand. As you exhale, wave your spine down, go slower than you need. And you'll do it again. Shoulders roll back, heart lifts up, cobra. Exhale, lower. The head should be the last thing to come down. Once more. Shoulders back, heart up. And then this time, as you exhale, settle maybe halfway down and try to hover the arms to cactus. So elbows lower and palms and wrists higher. It's way harder. Let's see what you can do. Elbows toward the floor a little, and palms and wrists aiming to be higher than the elbows. Take another breath in. And then you're gonna set your fingers back where they started. You're gonna lower your spine right down to the floor. Take one breath in, come up to cobra. And with your exhale, wave down. Inhale, you'll rise. Exhale to lower. Breathe in, come up. Hold lifted, exhale, you'll hover cactus. You've been here before. Take a deep breath in, stay here. And then we'll add on, as you exhale, pull your elbows back. Make your arms more like a W instead of a cactus. So cactus, the elbows right beside shoulders. W, they're way behind. Now look at your palms and lift them up. Elbows lower than the wrists, if possible. So we'll call this W arms. We're gonna keep adding on to the end of this sequence and keep moving through the shapes, getting into the groove of repetition. And put your fingers back down and lower your whole chest to the floor. Exhale completely. As you breathe in, wave your spine up. Breathe out, wave your spine down. Patient with transition. Inhale to come up. And exhale to lower. Last one like this. Hover cactus as you exhale. Stay, press your feet and pelvis heavy, breathe in. And then you'll pull your elbows back as you exhale, W arms. Now from there, you'll set your palms down and do cobra. So your chest will lift up a little higher. Pelvis should still be pressing to the floor. Shoulders are very much like chaturanga, but your belly, pelvis, thighs are on the ground. Hold here. One more steady breath, pulling on the mat. And then you're gonna lower, you're gonna reset your fingers wide. We're back at the beginning. You'll take an inhale to wave up. And exhale to wave down. Come up on breath in. And lower. Breathing out. One more time. Cactus arms, hover, exhale. Stay, your wrists higher than your elbows. Exhale, W, pull the elbows back. Inhale, you'll set your palms, cobra pose. This time you're gonna lower out of that, tuck your toes. You're gonna inhale, push to plank pose. And then you'll pause here. Spread your fingers well. Feel the outer armpits slightly turning toward the center of the chest. Make your legs straighter. Press your heels back. And lift the side waist of your neck away from the floor. Last breath like this. Now, slow lower yourself back to the mat. Back at the beginning, fingers wide. Waving cobra, one time, breathe in. Hover cactus, breathe up. Stay and lift your wrists higher. Exhale is W, pull the elbows back. Hands down for your in-breath, cobra, proper. Exhale, you'll lower, tuck your toes. Now push to plank pose, take a deep breath in. Listen, bend your knees deeply, stick your butt up and back, and then spin your toes and your knees a little to the right. So this is often called accordion. I don't fancy saying accordion a whole bunch of times. So I'll tell you, turn your knees and toes, right or left. In my experience in the past, you will get the lefts and rights wrong. It's totally fine, just notice. Now toes forward, come back to plank. And then same thing, toes a little to the left, hips go up and back. Press into your hands. So the arms are still in down dog. And the legs are twisted. Now come to center, plank pose, breathe in. Lower yourself to the floor. Breathe out, you're back in the beginning, fingers wide, waving cobra, take an inhale. Exhale to lower. Again, breathe in, you'll rise. Hover cactus arms, exhale. Stay, lift your wrists higher to breathe in. Pull your elbows back through W, exhale, set your palms so your breath in develops cobra pose. Exhale, you'll come down, tuck your toes, charge your legs, plank pose, breathe in. Toes to the left, bend your knees, stick your butt up and back. Inhale, center, plank. Toes, knees to the right, bend your knees, stick your butt back. Do it again, both sides, center, inhale. Patiently, go left as you exhale. Center, inhale. To the right. Breathe out. Now center, tap your knees and sit to your heels. Slide all your fingers back behind your feet. Push them down, lift your chest, reverse cow pose. You'll pause here. You could lift your butt if you want to. You can keep it seated. You could again be in crossed legs if you know that this shape doesn't work well for you. Take one more inhale breath. And then you'll catch your knees, pull your ribs back, round your spine significantly. Take a deep breath like this. hollow body. Ribs back, chest back, chin to chest. Take another full cycle. From here, look forward, come right to plank. Hands forward, tuck the toes, charge the legs. You're gonna lower to your belly. Your back at the beginning, fingers wide. Waving cobra. Lower down as you exhale. Up on the breath in. Cactus arms hover, exhale. Stay, lift your wrists higher. Exhale, elbows back through W. Set your palms for cobra. Take your inhale to lift, develop back bend. Exhale to lower, tuck the toes. You're gonna charge legs, push to plank pose. Toes and knees to the right. Exhale, stick your butt back. Now center plank, shift forward, breathing. To the left, exhale. Center plank, breathe in. Make sure you're with me. To the right, breathe out. Now this time, you're gonna float your right hand off the floor. You're gonna stack right foot in front of left and straighten your legs if you can. And take your right arm up and over the ear if possible. If you need, your left knee comes to the blanket or towel right underneath your hips. If you're comfortable, it's right foot in front of left foot. Right arm reaches toward the top of your mat. Both of your feet pressing sharply into the floor. Join the edges of your feet, right? Inner, outer edge. Now center plank. Toes, knees left, stick your butt back, float your left hand off the floor, and second side. Straighten both legs if you can. Right armpit toward heart center. Left arm overhead, same thing, armpit in, toward the face. Press both feet down. Engage your legs like you're doing a regular plank pose. Keep your right shoulder more on your back. Now center plank. Tap your knees, sit to your heels, slide all your fingers behind you. Take a deep breath in, lift your chest. Catch your knees as you exhale, shift your hips back, belly back. You'll slide forward, plank pose, one breath. Lower to your chest. Back at the beginning, fingers wide, wave cobra, inhale completely. Exhale to lower. Again, rise up. Exhale, hover your arms. Stay there and breathe in, lift the wrists. Elbows back, W, exhale. Palms down, cobra, inhale. Lower, tuck your toes, charge your legs. Plank pose, breathing in. Toes, knees to the left, stick your butt back, float your left arm. Side plank, reach overhead as you inhale. Center plank, and the knees to the right. Right arm goes up, reach overhead. Full breath in. Look down, center plank, tap your knees, sit to your heels, fingers behind you, take a deep breath in. Catch your knees, breathe out. Plank, inhale. Lower to the ground. Fingers wide, waving cobra. Exhale to lower. Up on the breath in. Hover cactus, exhale. Stay, lift your wrists higher. W, exhale. Palms down for cobra, breath in. Lower, tuck your toes, charge your legs, push to plank, inhale. Toes, knees to the right, bend them, right arm goes up. Inhale as it goes overhead. Center, go to the left, other side, left arm goes up. Reach overhead. Center, tap your knees, sit to your heels, fingers behind you, take a deep breath in. Catch your knees, just the breath out. Plank, inhale. Toes, knees to the left, right away, side plank, left arm goes up. Reach overhead. Center, toes, knees to the right, right arm goes up. Reach overhead. Center, now down dog. Push your hands down strong, extend your hips way back. Take a deep breath in. Any kind of sound. You can probably move the towel out of the way. Put it to the side for now. And then walk toward the front of your mat. Feet can be hip width. They could be together if you really want, but find a sensible place for you. And then bend your knees and empty your lungs. Empty completely if you can. You're gonna pause, empty, and roll up without breathing. If you don't like that, just breathe in. When your arms go up, take your inhalation. And then lower the arms, pause for a moment, standing Tadasana. So if your low back is sensitive, feet hip width is better, generally. If you find that you prefer it with your toes touching, you're welcome to do it that way. If it feels good for you. So stand mindfully, straighten your legs, lift and spread your toes, and feel like you can just stand here and have your feet on the ground and just like be relatively stacked, or you can engage with the floorboards underneath of you and start to plug your legs more into your pelvis and activate the muscles right from your feet all the way up through toward your center. Every shape is a collection of information about small engagements, or it can get that way if you look at it in a certain context. So can you be plugged in? And more engaged with each shape, though you may not be there for long. Exhale completely where you are. As you breathe in, keep your legs engaged, so your low back shouldn't just overarch. As you exhale, you're gonna maybe straighten the legs, maybe not, but fold, and keep your buttocks slightly hugged in. So you're firm in your outer hips. Take halfway lift, long spine, chest forward, outer hips still compacting. And then step back to plank pose. Take an inhale, shift a little forward. Try to lower halfway. Try to pause halfway and chaturanga. Be shaky there. Be willing to be shaky. And then point to your feet. Take up dog or cobra. Chest pulls through the biceps. Tuck the chin, round the spine. Come up through plank. Then roll your toes. Down dog. Try something for a sec. Grip the outer edges of your mat. Instead of flat palms, you're literally gonna clasp the edges of your mat and then pull the mat forward, like you wanna rip it out from under your feet. Can you get your armpits turning in slightly? Can you lift your shoulders and not pull them down? And then go back to flat palms and see if you can keep applying that cue of armpits hugging in. As you breathe in, you're gonna lift your heels, look forward. Bend your knees deeply, step or lightly spring. Front of your mat. Take halfway lift as you get there. Fold as you exhale, maybe straighter legs. Firm outer hips. Press your feet, rise your arms, use your legs. Join the palms, the exhale breath. Again, rise the arms, fill your lungs. Slow it down as you fold, resist. So there's always a hair of more control, less momentum. Halfway lift, inhale. Step or hop. Halfway lower, pause briefly if you can. Point your feet back, bend as you inhale. Tuck your chin, round your spine to pull up, downward facing. And pause. Armpits in, push the floor away, make your legs stronger, maybe spread your toes, and then be with the breath. What's it like to be still? Breathe in, lift your heels, look between your hands. Bend your knees deeply, step or lightly hop. Lengthen halfway. Fold as you exhale. Rise, breath in. Join your palms. Breathe out again like this, arms up. Fold. Halfway, fill the lungs. Step or hop, empty chaturanga. Back bend. Round to lift, down dog. Push, pause, find steadiness. Cultivate steadiness. Breath in, lift your heels. Look forward, bend your knees deeply, step or lightly hop. Lengthen, fill, fold, empty. Press your feet and rise. Join your palms. Exhale. Now, arms down by your sides. You're going to breathe in, take your arms overhead. You're going to drop prayer and back bend. So your pelvis presses forward. So I'm not just extending my back. Pelvis forward, buttocks is firm. Head is kind of being cradled by the arms, but make sure you're not ever pulling on the back of your head. So elbows hugging in, armpits turning in, buttock down, belly up. It should feel like abdominal work eventually. Like my abs will start to shake doing this because they're stretching if you don't know. So they're stretching and bearing your weight. Now as you breathe in, stand right upright, like an arrow, reach your arms overhead. And then you're gonna take chair pose, sweep the arms behind you and create the fist bump from earlier. Maybe more behind the back of the ribs here, and you can take or leave that. But press your fists together, elbows forward, shoulders back, and then keep the spine really long. Heels heavy, chest is pulling forward and up. Take another deep breath like this. And then you're gonna bring your palms together, interlace your fingers, send your knuckles down, pull your chest up. And then you'll fold, belly to the thighs, knuckles overhead. Stay for a moment, palms tightly woven, or not so much, feel it out. Now you're gonna lift your heart, breathe in, come to chair pose, keep your knuckles like they are if you can. Exhale to pause here. You'll take a deep breath in. And then stand, straighten your legs, lower your arms by your sides. Tadasana is home base. As you inhale, go up. Exhale, drop prayer, standing back bend. Inhale, straight up. Sweep the arms, chair pose, fists behind the back. Take your inhalation, lift your chest. Find your fingers and fold as you exhale, knuckles overhead. Chair pose proper, lift your heart up, send your knuckles back. Exhale, you'll stand Tadasana. Again, arms up, one breath in. Drop prayer, back bend, linger to empty. As you breathe in, go straight up. Fist bump, chair pose. Take your inhalation, lift your heart up. Find the fingers other way and fold, knuckles overhead. Keep the knuckles, chair pose, breathe in. Stand, Tadasana, breathe out. Last time like this, we'll add on, go up. Drop prayer, back bend. Inhale, straight up. Fist bump, chair pose, exhale. Lift your heart. Interlace fingers, fold, exhale. Now adding on here, bend your knees, lift your heart. Hover your left foot a tiny bit and step it back. So you're in a runner's lunge position. Chest is tipped forward. Knuckles go up and back where you let go of the bound fingers. Hug your right buttocks in more and heavy your right heel. Back leg is straight. The spine is tipped forward, but it's nice and long. Now put a little bend in your back knee. Sweep your arms forward and up. Reach your arms way up for this one. Straight arms, reach the fingers higher, make the back leg a little longer. Lift your low belly up a bit more. Last breath in here. Now this is wildly uncomfortable. Put your hands on your front leg. Bend your back leg a lot. And then pull your back foot toward your front foot and your front foot towards your back foot until you really don't want to hear me say anything about that anymore. And then if you are interested, you'll take your arms forward. And if you want to keep your hands on your thigh, do, but round your spine and magnetize your feet. You should be shaking. Front of left hip especially, maybe your low belly a little bit, but magnetize your feet and round, and take one more breath like this. Pull, 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 pull. Okay, you're gonna reach up, breathe in, back leg maybe straighter. Straighten the front leg, turn sideways, parallel feet. You're gonna fold wide-legged. Fingers are under the shoulders. Lift your spine up, lengthen, take a breath in. And you'll bend your left knee. Breathing out. Come to center, straighten both legs. And you'll bend your right knee. In the center as you breathe in. Fold, centered, breathe out. Stay for a moment. Now turn toward the front edge of your mat. This is a bit weird. Hop your back foot in like 8 inches maybe. Turn the back heel down like you were gonna go to warrior one, but you're not. And then I want you to bend your back knee, which is weird. And then you're gonna crawl your left fingers toward the front and crawl your right fingers toward the back. If you can straighten your right leg completely, go for it. Keep your back knee bendy. And then crawl your left fingers further forward, and maybe your right fingers further back. Take one more breath like this. So we'll call this confused warrior one, like somewhere between warrior one and skandasana. Now bend your front knee generously, place your hands firmly down, step halfway back with your right foot. If it's interesting to you, lift your back leg, and you'll swing your back leg and spring off your front leg. Now, if you have things around you that are breakable, please be very cautious about this. If it's in your practice, play with it. And if it's really not, then don't worry about it. But you can hop a couple times, maybe catch a little bit of air time, maybe you don't. Meet in a down dog. Take a vinyasa if you want. Your next breath in, you're gonna lift your heels, look forward. Bend your knees deeply, step or lightly hop. Lengthen as you get there. Fold and place the backs of your hands down for a moment if you can. So you're gonna wrist stretch. Drop your head. And then see if you can bend your elbows back toward your fingers. Now bend your knees and slowly roll up through your spine. Arms will go down by your sides. Take a moment here. Full breath out. Inhale, arms rise up. Exhale, drop prayer, back bend. Inhale, you'll rise up. Exhale, chair with fist bump. Take an inhale, lift your heart more. Bind your fingers and fold as you exhale. Through chair. Knuckles way back. You're gonna hover your right foot and step back with your right foot. Chest is tipped forward. This is runner's lunge, or that's what I call it. Everyone has different names for these things. Pull your front heel toward your back big toe. So here there's that hint of magnetizing the feet. There's kind of always that hint. And you don't have to, if you're shaking, chill out. And if it's not that bad, then work it. And then with your next breath, you're gonna bend your back knee, sweep your arms forward and up. Stretch your back heel maybe further, bend your front knee maybe more deeply. Lift the back sides of your waist. Now put your hands on your front thigh, bend your back knee, and hollow your body. Pull back foot to front foot, pull front foot to back foot. Stay, or reach the arms forward and keep doing the same thing. Pull your feet, lift your gut, send your chin toward your chest even, like make your spine really round, and pull the feet in. My teacher likes to say this is medicine for your hip flexors. Take one more breath, pull your feet. Okay, you'll go up, stretch your back heel maybe further. And then straighten your front leg and turn it all to the side, parallel feet, fingers under the shoulders. Take a deep breath in here. Bend right knee as you exhale. Center. Bend left knee. Center. Pause, centered, head down, maybe legs straighter, maybe toes spreading more. Okay, now turn everything toward the front of your mat. And hop your back foot in, shorten the stance by maybe 8 or 10 inches, and then flatten your back foot. So the heel turns in, the back foot looks more like you're gonna go to warrior one. And then I want you to bend the back knee. So very unorthodox shape. I don't know. My teachers never really named it that I can recall. Crawl your right fingertips toward the front and even a little to the left. And then crawl your left fingertips back and down the left side of your mat. And then feel your right side body get longer, your right hip pulling in. Left leg maybe straighter, but also your left hip is pulling in. So there's always this hint of compacting the outer hip muscles. Like you put yourself in a gentle vice grip. I realize it's probably not a thing, but think about it. Now bend your front knee, flatten your palms, step your front foot halfway down, lift your back leg, make your back leg quite straight, lower it close to the floor, and then swing the right leg and spring off the left. And if you do it on your inhale, you'll probably be more successful. If I were breathing and instead of talking, I would be able to actually show you that. Now pause, go back to down dog or keep playing with that if you need to. We'll meet in down dog. Now we'll add a bit here. You will repeat that sequence, but you're going to add something first. So tap your knees, you're going to inhale to cow. Exhale, child's pose. Roll up to sit. Fingers behind you. Take an inhale, lift your chest. Catch your knees and breathe out. Stand on your shins, arms rise up. Step your right foot forward, lower your left hand. You're going to circle your right arm and straighten your back leg. Stay for a moment, navigate this first. Left shoulder pulling back, like you learned in cycling. Right hip pulling back. Back leg straighter. Now reach your right arm overhead. Fingers down, you're just going to straighten your right leg. Come into half or to pyramid pose. Take a moment here, hug your right hip in. Now with your in-breath, bend your right knee deeply. And then exhale, you're just going to straighten it again, shift your hips back as much as feels safe for you. One more time, inhale forward. And then you'll exhale to go back. Now bend the knee and step forward, halfway lift, front of the mat. Fold round, sigh or something. Up to standing, breathe in. Drop prayer, standing back bend as you exhale. Then come directly up, arms overhead. Chair pose with fist bump, exhale. Take your in-breath, lift your chest. Now you're going to pause with your fist bump this time. You're going to hover your left foot, and instead of runner's lunge, you're going to go to warrior three. So left leg straight back. Hug your right buttock in more. And then maybe your spine tips more horizontal. But press your fists together. Shoulders more on your back. Elbows more alongside of you. Press your fist, hug your right hip. Like one more breath like this. Okay, you're gonna step back with your left toes. You're gonna sweep your arms forward and up, come through crescent lunge. You're gonna exhale, drop prayer and back bend. Now stay and take a breath in. You're gonna bend your back knee and you're gonna round your spine, hollow body. Stay here, magnetize your feet, take a full exhale. And as you breathe in, you're gonna straighten everything. Turn to the side, wide-legged, put your fingers under your shoulders. Inhale, lift your chest up. Bend left knee, exhale. Center. Bend right knee. Center. Fold in center. Take one breath like this. Firm legs, outer hips hugging. Now turn toward the front of your mat, step halfway back. Take a big hop or don't. And then chaturanga or skip it. Back bend, inhale. From the belly, down dog, exhale. Now stay in down dog and breathe in. As empty as you can manage. Wait for it. You're gonna pause, empty, and then tap your knees, super slow, on empty. When you get there, you'll breathe in cow. Child's pose, exhale. Up to sit, fingers behind you, take a deep breath in. Catch your knees. Hollow body, exhale. Stand to your shins, arms rise. Left foot steps forward, right hand down. Circle left arm, straighten back leg. Take a moment. Right shoulder back. Back leg straight. Left hip compacting. Now circle the arm overhead. Fingers down, you're gonna straighten your front leg. Get your bearings, take a breath here. On in breath, bend the front knee. Out breath, straighten both legs. Again, patiently forward. Fill the lungs. Go back. Breathe out. Now bend the knee and step forward. Halfway lift, inhale. Fold round, sigh or whatever. Press your feet, rise to stand. Exhale, drop prayer, standing back bend just like earlier. As you breathe in, go straight up. Chair pose with fist bump. The fist bump remains if you did the full pose prayer together behind the back. You can do that if you did it last time. Hover the right leg, extend it straight back. Chest tips a little more forward, but pull your left outer hip in. As if there was like a tennis ball stuck in the front of your left hip crease. Could you take your chest and belly forward so that you're not crashing down, but you're lengthening as much as you can? Press the fists together, shoulders on the back, ribs into the front. Last breath like this. Reach with your lifted leg. Now bend, step back with your right toe. Sweep your arms forward and up, high lunge. Drop prayer as you exhale. More back bend, breathe in. Bend your back knee and round your spine, exhaling. Stay here, magnetize the feet. One breath in and completely out. As you breathe in, go back to high lunge. Straighten the front leg, turn to the side, wide-legged. Put your fingers under your shoulders. Take an inhale with your chest. Bend right knee, exhale. Center, lift, spine, breathe in. Bend left knee, exhale. Center. Fold, centered, little different this time. Bring your heels narrower, so your feet are turned out, and then bend your knees and stick your elbows up against your inner knees, and then squat, and let it be more lax. So you're gonna kind of sink into it, and let your elbows pry your inner knees wider open. One more steady breath like this. Okay, feet parallel, fingers under shoulders. Lift your spine up, breathe in. Turn toward the front of your mat, ground your palms, step halfway back. If you want to hop, hop. If you don't, don't. And then step back and vinyasa or skip it. Back bend of your choosing. Down dog, exhale. Take a deep breath in. Empty if possible. All the breath out. Stay empty as you put your knees down. Breathe into cow. Out to child's pose. Sit, fingers behind you. Peak inhale here. And then catch the knees. Round spine, exhale. Stand on your shins. Right foot steps, left hand lowers. Right arm circles, back leg straight. Keep the circle going, reach forward. And then straighten both legs, pyramid pose, exhale. Bend the front knee, step forward, halfway lift. Fold, exhale, empty maybe. On empty, roll up. When your arms go up, breathe in. Draw prayer, standing back bend. Breathe out. Go straight up, arms overhead. Fist bump, chair pose, exhale. Take an in-breath, lift your heart. This time, bind the fingers like before, knuckles overhead, drop your brain. Now bend your knees, chair pose. Exhale, send your left leg back, warrior 3. Now breathe in, hold here, hug your right hip in, stretch your left leg longer as you exhale. Take another breath in like this. Bend the knees, step back. We're gonna sweep through high lunge, arms overhead. Drop prayer, back bend. Stay and breathe in. Bend the back knee and hollow your body. Stay here, one breath. Pull your front foot to your back foot. As you inhale, go straight up, arms overhead. Lower your hands right away. Step halfway back, hop or don't. And then vinyasa. Back bend. From the belly, downward dog. Great to tap the knees. Inhale, tap. Child's pose, exhale. Roll up to sit. Fingers behind you. Breathe in completely. Catch your knees. Round your spine. Stand on your shins, arms up. Left foot steps, right hand lowers. Circle left arm, straighten back leg. Inhale, reach forward. Fingers down, straighten both legs, pyramid, exhale. Then front knee, step forward. Empty maybe. All the air out. You're gonna stay empty as you roll up. When your arms go, you breathe in. Drop prayer, back bend. Inhale, vertical. Chair pose, fist bump, exhale. Take your breath in here. Fold, interlace the fingers other way. Bend your knees, chair pose, inhale. Float your right leg to warrior 3. Stay. Hug your left hip in. Stretch your lifted leg longer. Take your next inhalation where you are. And then step back. Release the arms. Go up as you inhale. Drop prayer to back bend. Stay and breathe in. Bend the back knee and round. Arms up, one breath. Lower your hands. Step halfway, hop or don't. Chaturanga or skip it. Back bend. Down dog, exhale. Take a deep breath. Any kind of sound. Now look between your hands. Not all of you will be able to do this. If you need to put your knees down, please do. If possible, you can look here if you need to first. You're gonna try to lower your elbows to hover above the mat, right behind the wrists, and then you'll straighten your arms. Come back to dog. So you're like flirting with dolphin. Hug outer armpits in, and then straighten the elbows. Again, lower. Now could you hold the hovering elbows? Squeeze them in toward each other, as if there's a block between them, and then at the exact same moment, put your elbows on the floor, and then tap your knees down, and sit up for a sec. Take a moment, palms in your lap. Notice what you feel. There should be some warmth. You're not warm? You don't want to talk about it right now? All right, so stay seated for a moment, and you're gonna come onto your belly. So some of you may have done this with me a few weeks ago. You're gonna come to your belly and set your right arm in cactus. If you wanna look at this first, if you're unsure, right arm in cactus, look at the elbow, make sure it's directly beside or forward of the shoulder socket, but not back in W, okay? So W, elbows behind shoulder, cactus, it's right beside the shoulder, go with that. And then wiggle your pelvis a little to the left. And then roll onto your right side. And if you can, put your left foot in a tree pose. So widening right forearm might feel interesting. The front of the right shoulder should be off of the ground like a cobra, and the chest should be feeling a lot of stretch on the right side. Now, you're gonna float your left leg long and step your right leg a little forward of you so that your legs are in like a scissor split. And then take your left arm up and reach overhead if you can. think of pulling your right palm towards you. It's not going to move. Just think of pulling the floor towards your mat with your right forearm. Take another breath like this. And then you'll roll to your belly. Set your left arm in cactus, beside shoulder socket, not behind it. Wiggle the pelvis, belly a little to the right, and then roll onto your left side. Step your right foot into against the inner left leg. Left shoulder should be lifted, should not be on the floor. Palm pressing firm. Maybe you widen your left elbow if you want. And then gently let the left armpit chest turn to the right. The left armpit chest pulling to the right. Armpit chest is generally new verbiage for some people, so see how it goes. Right leg's gonna float, left foot's gonna step forward, so your legs are scissor split. Keep your left shoulder lifted, right arm goes up, and then right arm goes over the ear. Now pull your left palm down the floor. Take one more breath like that. Okay, you're gonna roll back to your front. Take your hands by the sides of your ribs. Push yourself up, hands and knees. And then sit to your heels if you can and take reverse cow. Your chest should feel maybe more easeful here than it did earlier. Take another full breath, really lift your chest. So both sides of armpit chest moving forward. And then catch your knees and pull back and round. The very opposite. And then sit up tall. And you're gonna set your forearms forward in parallel if it's possible. If you're unsure about this, you don't have to. You can do it with palms together. I would say that's more remedial. For some people's shoulders, it might be the better option, but you might not successfully get into the full pose because it's just less surface area covered. So palms wider than you think, elbows narrower than you think, so that when you roll on the skin of your elbows, you don't roll out super wide. And then come up to dolphin and push. Elbows down, heart space goes back, hips go up. So it is very much a down dog on your elbows. And then if you're unsure about hopping at all, look this way. You'll look between your hands once you've got yourself set up, if you're looking at me right now. So my eyes are between my wrists. One foot's gonna step in a little, other leg's gonna lift. You can do swing and spring. And you might not get any air time at all. If you're close to a wall, that would be helpful, so that you can catch yourself if you need to. You can also just hold dolphin and lift your leg and don't worry about swinging anything and don't hop. If you have a wall close by, I'll show you the other way I would more often bring people into this. And even if you are quite familiar with the full pose, this thing against the wall would be really helpful. So your forearms are gonna come out in front of you with feet against the baseboard. My elbows have about a foot of space between elbows and knees. So I'm gonna come into a short little dolphin pose against the wall. I'm gonna walk both feet up onto the wall, and then I'm gonna think about sending my hips more over my elbows. So instead of walking my feet up the wall, and let's say looking like I'm more in the pose, I wanna focus on getting my spine where it eventually needs to figure out how to be. So directly vertical. Do you live any of that or none of that? Take a moment. If you need to sit, sit. You generally will want to keep your eyes between your wrists or between your forearms. Right now, if you look at me, I'm looking back through my arms. I've only more recently been able to do this. And I still can't do it in handstand for some reason. I can only do it here. But it's far easier and it feels a lot safer to be looking at the floor rather than looking through your arms. So if you're newer to it, it takes a long time to figure these things out. For some people, it takes years, and that's fine. Everything that we ask our bodies to do outside of yoga practice is kind of taking us the other direction. So this is all very alien to a lot of people. Okay, so if you're still playing with that, feel free to take a few moments and continue with it. You're gonna come down onto your back. So set up a couple things. Have a block or book handy if you grab one. And then the towel from earlier, if you take it back to its folded strip kind of situation, and then roll it so that you end up with a very thin tubular bolster. And then you'll lie on your back, and you could also do, like, Dhanurasana is kind of also something I hinted at today. So if you want to be on your belly and do belly back bends, you're welcome to do that. That could just be arms floating, locust pose. It could be cobra. It could be holding your ankles. That's what Dhanurasana is if you don't know. I'm going to cue you through wheel pose first, and I'm going to demo something in a deeper pose that you might try, and it's maybe a more optional thing. So if you're doing simple bridge pose, I'm assuming you know how to go there. So do that on your, if you're coming to wheel pose, feet hip width and underneath your knees. They don't have to be right up against your sitting bones. I would say they probably shouldn't be for most people. And then take your arms up in the air and extend your wrists so your palms face the ceiling. And then bend your elbows and set your palms on the floor beside your head. If you can, widen them. Turn the fingers out a little bit, hug the elbows in a little bit, and then press up through your hips first. Come to the crown of your head, but don't look at the camera. Don't turn your head if you're on your crown. And then you'll hover your head and start to straighten your arms if you can. Some of you will then start to straighten your legs. And that won't work probably for all of you, so see how it goes. But push the floor away a little bit. Your armpits are wrapping in, very much like everything else we talked about. But your shoulders are lifting, not pulling down. Whenever you want to come down, tuck your chin, land the space between your shoulder blades, set your feet wide, knees together, lift your hands, and don't shake your wrists, little circles or figure eight or something like that. If you're still in the pose, take your time. Okay, so I'm going to show you this next pose because if you are newer to something like this, it's a big deal pose. If you do only part of it, it's not that crazy. And if you do the second part of it, it's kind of a lot. So get your eyes on the camera if you have no idea what I'm talking about. If you have an idea where I'm going, go there if you know it. So you should check in with wheel pose first, because this is a progression from wheel pose. So if you're watching, just watch. If you're coming with me, I'll cue it as if you were coming with me. So like you set up wheel pose, palms up, palms by the ears, maybe wider. Come up to wheel first, check in, make sure the stance feels good. And then you'll come to the crown of your head, but you'll put as little pressure as possible in your neck and do not turn your head. Now, one forearm at a time settles around the skull. You'll put your palms together and you'll lift your head if possible. Now, if I stay here, this is slightly less intense than wheel in some ways because my wrists suddenly have no real pressure. If you watch this, it gets more intense. You'll start to walk your feet away a little bit, and I'm bringing them feet right together. And then I'll start to work towards straighter legs. And my heart will move more over my elbows. My armpits are very open. And with the legs straight, it's far more intense. So the first part might be totally accessible, the straight leg part might not at all. The muscles of your back will feel very taxed. So like alongside the spine, the paraspinal muscles will feel a lot there. To come down, see if you can, I like to come right to my forearms, like right to the back of the shoulders. You could come back through wheel pose if that's a more comfortable way of getting out of it. Take a few breaths if you're still working with it. Rest in constructive rest if it's possible. So feet wide, knees together. Slow breath pace. And then begin gently to tip your legs side to side. If you're still working with some of those shapes, do your thing, take your time. When you're ready to let it go, let it go. Now in the next few breaths, you'll pull your knees in over your hip sockets and just rock a little bit. I wouldn't deeply round the spine immediately. If you're newer to my practice, it's very common in yoga to be told as soon as you get out of a deep back bend to pull your knees right into your chest. I've been taught the opposite. So, take or leave it. That's my suggestion. Okay, and then following that, press your feet together and open your inner knees. So Baddha Konasana, diamond shape pose. You're going to take your palms, the heels of your hands, to the very tops of your femurs. So where your thigh bones enter your hip socket, at the very crest of the pelvis. Well, so the hip crest is up above, the hip crease is just below the hip crest. So the frontal hip bones go a little south to the thigh bones. And then push your hands into your thigh bones like you want to push your pelvis down away from your ribs. And that is literally what you're doing. You're tractioning your low back. Be gentle, don't be forceful here, but give a little pressure. Push your thigh bones down. Press your feet together. Your low back should feel something interesting. Be, again, gentle. Okay, and you'll release that and bring your knees back in over your hip sockets. Take a moment there. And then find the rolled towel or blanket and place it under the back of your pelvis, across your sacral ridge, which is just above the tailbone, back of pelvis, crack of the bone. And then lift your legs up and tabletop, so bent knees. You'll figure 4 as one option, right ankle, left thigh. And you could use no hands and do active, so left knee pulling back and right knee turning open. You could use your hands and make it passive, and that's just a different way of approaching it. Not wrong, just different. And then I like to take gomukhasana. So cross above the knees. You might need to lift your head and shoulders to get this. Palms to heels, like to the Achilles. And then pull gently your feet around your body. You can rock a little bit, you can stay still. The elevation of the blanket, I find it's easier to get into, but it's also deeper. Or that's what I feel. So maybe you pull your feet more toward your chest. Maybe you're comfortable, good where you are. Take another couple breaths. And then you'll switch the cross of your legs. So do whatever you just did. Figure 4, no hands. Figure 4, hands interlaced. Or gomukhasana, holding the heels or the ankles or the shins. And then rock or stay still or play with it. In the next couple breaths, if you're ready to let it go, let your legs go up, give them a little jiggle. The elevation under your hips, you might want to shake too vigorously, but see how it goes. And then you'll set your feet down, and you'll take the rolled towel out from underneath of you. And you can roll to one side, or you can roll to sit, as you prefer. So find your book or block and place it a good foot away from the base of your mat. If you have 2 blocks, it would be great with 2. I would put them side by side like this. But since it's doubtful that a lot of you will have 2, I'm just going to use one and make sure that I have an idea of what it's like with one. You're going to fold the back of your mat over the book or the block. Okay, so you've got the sticky mat on top of the surface of whatever object you're going to use there. And then you're going to put your shoulder blade region on the elevation of that prop. So like you're going to do supported fish, but you're not. And then, so the space around your shoulder blades, between your shoulder blades, on this padded block covered by hopefully your mat. And then you're going to take your arms up overhead and hold on to opposite elbows. And then, so you're going to kind of cradle the base of your skull with your forearms. You can tighten that if you need to actually hold on. You can even hold your head with your interlaced fingers instead of opposite elbows if that's not enough scaffolding. And then lift your butt up off the floor a tiny little bit. So you're in this weird little bridge pose with your shoulders elevated on block. And then it gets just a little bit weirder. Pull your heels toward the block and you'll slide down the block a bit. And then push your feet forward and you'll slide up the block a bit. And then I want you to do that, not quickly necessarily, but more vigorously. And you're literally scrubbing your back against the surface of the block or book or whatever. If it's a book and that doesn't work so well, you may need to shift that a little bit or change the orientation if the book's spine is like getting broken or whatever. So slide up and down. And then if it's interesting for you, this is a bit weirder, turn, like do a side bend. So you're going to shift your hips to the right and your elbows to the left. And then you're going to center yourself and shift your hips to the left and your elbows to the right. So you're literally doing like a spiral. So you'll take the skin of your back and you'll literally spiral it. And if you don't know what we're doing here, this is called fascial scrubbing. When you move fascial tissue, you're more concerned about skin movement rather than muscular pressure. So it's just one way to approach release, self-release, self-massage. So do that, or go back to up and down, or go side to side, or whatever you feel interested in. Ooh, side to side is good too. Oh my God, if you lean back a little bit and let your shoulder blade tips dig into the ridge of the blocks more, it's really good. So play with that, another couple of breaths, or maybe you're over that and ready to let it go. Oh my God, guys, seriously, lean to the back edge of the block and let your elbows almost come to the floor. Oh my God. So, depending on what you're on, that may or may not work, but if it's a block, that should work well. Okay, so you're gonna let your bum come back to the ground. You're gonna set your elbows beside you and work yourself up into a seat. Oh goodness, I love that. So you're gonna come up and not to toot my own horn or anything. I didn't make that up. So you're gonna come up and sit. Cross legs, if possible. I'm using the folded towel under my hips. So situate yourself in a tall space. So your hips are hopefully higher than your knees. And your central column, your sushumna, from crown of the head to the perineum is pretty much lined up. Your spine is not a straight line. So like spine straight doesn't really make any sense because the curves of your spine are very important. But central column upright. Feel the space of the back of the shoulders where you were just massaging and notice what's going on there and see if you can send some breath to the space there between the shoulders. Inhale steadily, comfortably. Hold at the top for a moment. See if you can exhale 8, 4. Approach empty graciously. Be there for a sec. Breathe in comfortably. Hold top of inhale. Try exhaling 8. Really measured. 6, 4, 2. Approach empty. Breathe, pause, breathe in steadily. Hold briefly. Exhale 8. 4. Breathe, pause, empty. And breathe in deeply. If you're interested, Uddiyana Bandha Kriya, empty vigorously. You'll start to round as you get closer to empty. Empty, empty, empty. Wait for it. On empty, tuck your chin. Pressurize hands into thighs. Lift the ribs, widen the ribs like you mocked inhaling. And then we need to actually breathe in, sit tall. Stay for a moment, breathe out. So if that is new to you, take another full breath like this. You mock inhale. So you wide rib cage, widen back body as if you took air in, but you don't actually take in any air. If you can avoid it, if that's interesting for you, try it again. Breathe in. Breathe when you need to. Steady exhale, sit tall. So there's the retention, which is just holding empty, and then there's the bandha, which is the widening of the ribs and the actual creation of the suction. Try once more if it's interesting. Breathe in. Sit tall. And then you can continue to use the towel as a pad for the underside of your thighs. So just below your knees probably. And, if you have to go, if you got kids running around or whatever it is that's happening for you, do what you need to do. Thank you for practicing if you have to go. If you're able to stay for a couple minutes. I'll rest with you. So I'll talk you down a little bit and then we'll chill and then we'll come up and sit and we'll close together. So if your block is still in the way, take it out of the way. Lie on your back. Set your legs up comfortably. So you don't have to hold anything. There's no physical muscular tension there. And same with your arms. So hands might like to rest on belly/ribs. You could have them on the floor beside you. It's up to you. Just find something that feels easeful to you. Move your tongue around your mouth and unstick your jaw as you do that. So wide throat, no touching of the molars, let them be separate. Let the back of the head be heavy. And there's nothing anywhere saying you have to close your eyes. So if you feel more safe or more comfortable with eyes open, do it. If you want to sit instead of lying down, do that. If you can surrender your weight to the floor, do that for this moment. And notice when that gets off track, when you start to hold yourself up more than you need to. Your aim is simply to hold stillness, to be humble enough to recognize when that gets off track, and diligent enough with your practice that you keep trying anyway. It's not about perfection. How like life? Can you be heavy? Be willing to give yourself this bit of space. I'll call you back shortly. Begin to deepen your breath. Fill your lungs and empty patiently. And take the next few breaths to come out of stillness. So move your fingers and your toes, nod your head. And over the next few breaths, make your way to one side. If you want to rest longer, expend enough energy to mute my feed or to turn this off and stay in rest. If you're able, come to one side, start to bring yourself out of wherever you just were. When you're able, come to sit. I'm going to use the towel again. You can sit on whatever you like. Let's sit tall. Rest your hands in your lap. You can bring them together at your heart center, across them, whatever. Draw your skull back, your chin slightly down. Take a moment in a tall seat. The foundational nature of practice is to simply observe and to sit with change in all of the forms that really, kind of stretch toward all aspects of life. But to sit with this and to stay with it regardless of things that come up. That it's not about perfection, truly, but just to spend the time to plug yourself in a little bit more. Or maybe it's to unplug for you or whatever you think there. I feel like there's a Matrix analogy coming that I probably shouldn't make, but you get where I'm coming from. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful week. If you have questions, if you want to turn your thing on, say hi or whatever, do that. If you have questions,
Thanks, Scotty. Have a good day.
Thank you, Scotty. Great class.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Scotty. Amazing.
Hey, look at the pup.
Thank you, Scotty.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Happy Sunday. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Scotty.
The pup's like, I want to walk. Not yours. There was another pup. Hindu, you made it. Thank you all. Have a great weekend, everyone.